Greetings, listeners, and welcome to The Spiritual Experience, a show where we share stories of life, love, and redemption for all of humanity on Earth. So sit back and enjoy. Try to identify with the speakers and not compare. Don't forget to subscribe on all podcast platforms. I'm your host, Jay Lewis, and here we go. Hey, what's going on, everybody? We're back. Spiritual Experience. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Hopefully you're, everybody's rested. Everybody's doing well. Yeah, we just came out of, listening to Liad. Her story is amazing. She's an amazing young woman. Very admirable. And she's like a spunky kid to me. She's like one of my baby sisters, and I love her so much. So hopefully you guys got a lot out of her story. She takes her recovery really seriously, and it's pretty funny. Sometimes sometimes life is like we say in recovery. Sometimes it's a loose garment. And sometimes life can feel like a pair of pants that used to fit that don't fit anymore, And I've been experiencing that lately too. I've been on like an eating binge for like maybe 3-4 days or whatever, but I've been doing good with the exercise. I'm still got a little bit of this monkey on my back, but that's okay. I'm pressing on. I'm doing what I got to do. And sometimes, I get joy just in, I'm not saying enduring when I'm a little bit depressed, but more, even though when I am, that I can still get stuff done that's positive, that I don't wallow in it anymore, But it's been some time. It's been some time since it's been like this. But it's not, whatever. I'm like belly aching. I told you the thing, if I told you what I complain about, you'd think I was bragging. I have really luxury problems today. I got wonderful kids. I got the Lord in my life. I have the rest of you humans that, are in my daily life that I come across, and it's nice. I just gave somebody a, like a meter ticket. I pulled out of a spot and I had the ticket, and, next people pulling in, I pulled around the block and I just gave it to them, and they were grateful. They were shockingly grateful. They were just like, whoa, not shockingly grateful. Like I'm surprised they were grateful. But they were in shock that I gave them that. They're like, wow, my God, that's so good. Thank you. And I was like, yeah, God bless you. Have a good day. So I keep it moving. But yeah, man, Liad's the best. She's a good egg, a good cookie. It reminded me of all my, what do you call them? Last time I was dolo here, solo for old people, dolo for young people. Or Delph, for young people. We were talking about, the incident I had with those silly clients and those people in the street and whatever. And, there was another lady, oddly enough, same day that I think I dropped at or whatever, the other day. I think so. Yeah, it was a lady and a guy fighting in this, arguing in the supermarket. And the lady, she cut the line at the deli. I was there, and this guy, he came up, and he was right behind me, and I was ordering my shit, and then I was done, and then the guy behind the counter said, like, next. And then he went to order, then this other dumpy, Bensonhurst Italian lady, she was like, no, I'm next. Excuse me, I was next. And I had my headphones in. I was listening to stuff, but I could peripherally understand what was going on. So I just stepped back and I was like, whoa, you guys are going to have to figure that stuff out. Mind you, The reason why I bring this stuff up is, the guy, this is where I get like, whatever, prejudice. I want to call it prejudice. Prejudice really means like to prejudge, right? So the guy that was supposed to be next, he was a black dude, and the supermarket I was in is in like Bensonhurst, which for those of you who don't know is not a black neighborhood. It is a predominantly Italian and white neighborhood, and there's like a lot of Chinese there now. At the Chinese, it's crazy, but everywhere. Either way, there's not a lot of black people there. So right away, I go to this fucking lady's being racist, So I'm like, yo, he's like the only, but probably like, I don't know. Maybe he's the only black guy for 5 blocks. Like, that's how segregated Brooklyn is. People like, oh, they think Brooklyn. Like, dude, New York City is very segregated. Neighborhoods are segregated. I tell you guys about all the time, kind of like where I live. I personally, it doesn't matter to me, but I just noticed. And her attitude had a little bit of that stink on it. Either way, and the dude was cool. He was like, look, no, you're cutting the line. And then she barked something back, and he was like, all right, whatever. And he just let it go, right? Now, mind you, while that's happening, I'm saying to myself, like, there's like 4 or 5 guys behind the deli counter, and they're going to have to figure it out. They're the ones that are in authority. They're supposed to be like, no, bitch, you cutting the line. You wait. But they didn't. Just like one guy started serving her, and within half a second, another guy came out of nowhere and said, hey, sir, how can I help you? And he helped the guy, whatever. So I tiptoe away. And now the lady's still running her freaking mouth. And the guy is like, he's like, yo, and he's like, he's like I'm not saying he's not backing down, but he's just like, listen, I don't know why you're still talking to me. I let it go, and here you are, like, and now the guy's wife comes over, right? And the guy's wife is white, and she tells the lady, like, listen, just keep walking, just keep it moving, like, none of this matters, and it's getting a little loud in the supermarket, like a little, a little crazy, and I am a busybody. So now I'm over by the eggs, but I got my head around the corner. I'm watching. Plus, it's audible. They're going at it a little bit. Now the wife and the lady is going at it, right? She's telling the lady, listen, just keep walking. And the lady's like, yo, you don't tell me to keep walking. And she starts walking back towards this lady. Now this lady is there with her kid and her husband. I'm like, oh, shit, there's a kid here, And then whatever. And the lady's like, listen, just like the guy's wife ain't back. And the guy's wife ain't backing down. The guy's wife is like, listen, you cut the freaking line. Because the people behind the deli counter, once they thought the line cutting Italian lady was gone, they told him, they were like, listen, yeah, you're right. She did cut, And he's like, I know I'm right. And that's when she came back up the aisle to pop her shit. And then the guy's wife said, listen, you need to just keep it pushing. And she's like, you don't tell me, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh, my God, this lady, And then what does she do? She goes, or however, she gets her husband, and now her husband comes, and he's got to stick his nose in. And I'm like, okay, now I got to stick my nose in. So I'm close, but I'm still like not participating. But I'm like standing there to see, see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And, And the guy starts talking to the dude, like whatever, starts, He's in there now. His wife, who is see you next Tuesday, got him in a position where now he's got to do something, right? Because, he doesn't know the whole story, but his wife is like, hey, look, you're going to let these people talk to me like that? She had like, these people kind of thing. And I was like, oh my God, man. This is getting crazy. And the firemen that are in there, they're buying their groceries. Now they start to come over, right? And then some people get in between them. And the black dude's like, listen, man, I let it go. Your wife keeps coming back here running her freaking mouth. And in my mind, I'm about to say, dude, you know what kind of wife you got. She's about to get you fucked up in here. And you really need to just keep it moving. But I just like, I was like a barfly, just milled around. And then the store manager comes over. Mind you, the store manager is like 22-year-old kid. And we're all grown men over there. And then the firefighters come and then whatever. They send the guy on his way. And I honestly, like, number one, I was happy because the black dude stuck up for himself, And I don't know if the Italian lady was, I'm just going to assume that she was just being racist because, she didn't bark at nobody else, but she's barking at this dude. You know what I'm saying? And she clearly cut the line. And there's only 3 of us there, Yeah. So I'm just going to say race had something to do with it. Or maybe she's having a bad day. I don't know. Or maybe she's just an asshole and because she thinks that she has her husband was a big dude. And maybe she thinks like, look, I can just do this stuff. And then my ogre of a husband's going to come over here and he's going to scare everybody away. Meanwhile, wasn't nobody scared, Even the husband's like talking to the black guy, like, I don't know why you're getting so animated. He uses the word animated. Like, you're getting all crazy. You're getting all animated. I don't understand. I don't have a problem with you. And then we were like, then other people started chiming in and I was just, whatever. I was on the sidelines. You know my style. I'm not doing anything, apparently. I'm not doing anything. I'm just enjoying the show. And they were like, bro, like, if you don't have a problem, why are you still standing here posturing? For what? Over cold cuts. You know what I'm saying? Over cold cuts. Yeah. And then eventually he went away. And I was like, dude, I feel bad for that guy. That guy's wife must be torturing his ass. Because if she's talking like that to strangers, and strangers meaning people that she don't know, and men at that, dude. What if it was I don't know, what if it was any other guy, race not mattering, and that guy, grabbed some salami and slapped her in the face with it. Anything could happen. You don't talk to a woman is taking a risk by talking to a man like that, and especially if the man is barking back at her. Because I don't argue with women. I don't really argue with people. I try not to. But I definitely don't argue with women. I'd be like, whatever, you got it. And I leave it alone. You know what I'm saying? If my woman is there, I can fetch my woman and be like, hey, listen, I don't know, cut this bitch or something. Whatever. But my woman wouldn't let another woman yell at me. Just like, like this guy, he was put in a position where somebody was yelling at his wife and now he had to get involved. So somebody was, I understand. I understand why he had to get it, but he should have just, he should have just left it alone. But either way, so that was like a little bit like exciting, had that going on. So it was funny. But yeah, that guy's wife must torture his ass. And then when I was checking out, I saw him with his wife. And they had like this little kid that was with them. The little kid had these big googly glasses on. He looked like he didn't want to sit still or whatever. I'm like, oh, the kid's probably torturing the mom. Maybe, who knows what happened. Maybe the mom didn't see the guy. I don't know. Whatever. And I just stopped being judgmental and angry at everybody. And then as I was leaving, I saw the black dude in the parking lot talking to his wife like, yeah, man, blah, blah, blah. That guy's a bitch-ass N-word. Coming over here, whatever, running, but he didn't want no smoke. I was like, oh, my God, nobody wants any smoke over freaking pastrami or whatever you were getting. I don't know what you was getting. I don't know. It was some kind of cheese or something. I think he's like Land O'Lakes cheese, sliced thin. Meanwhile, here we are. 15 minutes into the show, and I'm giving them all my play-by-play, giving you guys the play-by-play. It's so silly. Yeah, but that's like yeah, it's crazy. It's great. I don't know. It's life. Sometimes I watch those videos and I'm like, wow, I see that stuff online. I'm like, dude, this is like some other people's life. That is definitely not my life. I don't want anything to do with that at all. And yeah, so that was that. Rest of the week's been pretty good. You know, I what else happened? I edited another show, like I told you guys, the Young Boy Jaspy. Okay, so yeah, just I edited a 2-part show. It came out really, really good. It's gonna drop. Yeah, it's gonna drop next week. It's gonna be awesome. Maybe next week or the week after. I'm not exactly sure. We'll see how it goes. But yeah. So I did that. And then I just had a cigar with Roberto today. One of my other boys that I love dearly. And we're just trying to make it happen, man. This is the story. So, yeah. You know. Oh, back to Liad. And, yeah. Liad's story was really good. It reminded me that, you know, as comfortable as I feel around, because if you don't know by now, you know, I'm a biracial person. Should I say biracial? I don't know. Okay. My skin is white, so I guess that makes me the white race, right? If you want to look at it that way, the white race. I definitely pass as white. You know, I don't get any breaks from the cops. Though I would love one, but I don't get any. Yeah. So, but again, my mom is from Puerto Rico, so I'm first generation born on the mainland. My dad's a Long Island Jew. My dad is like pink, pasty skin. My mom has like maybe some very fair white olive skin. She definitely has Hispanic features. And I used to love when people would think, you know, sometimes people would think when we were kids that she was white until she opened her mouth, and then it was over. Then it was over. You know, they'd be like, oh. I used to love to see the confusion on people's faces when yeah. When they'd be like, why does this white lady sound so weird? I used to make fun of her all the time, her accent. Her English accent is like horrible. Now it's a lot better. As her English has gotten a lot better. So, you know, my mom, you know, when I was a kid, my mom used to butcher the English and my dad butchers the Spanish. Butchers. You know? And, yeah, so when I used to be in the store with my mom, you know, it was like the best thing ever. We used to go to this place in Nanuet. It was called Peddler's Mart. I didn't even know what that meant. Like, which it's such a weird name to have, Peddler's Mart. Like, I don't know what that is. Like, what? You buy stuff there so you can peddle it on the street or whatever it is? Who knows? Either way, it was a place that had stuff that was inexpensive. I grew up very, very middle class. Not middle class now, but middle class of like 1980, 83, 85, whatever. It was, you know, yeah, we had a house. Maybe the mortgage was $400 a month or $500 a month or something. It was manageable. We didn't have a lot of extra stuff, so my mom had all these different places she would go and buy things. And my mom was very creative. She's still very creative. Like, she would gather, like, freaking flowers and pine cones and shit from the yard and make centerpieces, and she would get extra fabric. You know, when something was made, and we had, like so crazy. Like, the drapes in my parents' living room, the same fabric as the couches in the living room, which are the same couches from 1977. Yeah. They are, they're not even really that comfortable. and they look, they look how they look. I'm not a fan. But hey, man, that's their, it's their taste. It's their thing. What am I supposed to do? You know? So either way, so my mom was like very, I don't know. I hate when I have to start to think about words and then decide whether or not these words are even like offensive. So my mom was like very resourceful. Okay, as like a poor person that came from Puerto Rico, that my mom didn't have electricity till she was 8, washed her clothes in a river, cooked her food for the rest of my family, with the rest of my family. They would cook on these stones and shit, and they would build these fires, and it would take them hours and hours just to make pots of rice or whatever. So my mom is basically from the Stone Age. Straight up. My mom is from the Stone Age, you know? So she would find all of these stores that had inexpensive things, and she would make bombs out of Bisquick. You know, that's what she would do. She'd find all these little tchotchke things, and she would make stuff out of it. And we would be in these stores, and and she would ask like the guy. She would be like, "Excuse me, you know what is the shits?" And the guy would be like, "What?" And she'd like, "The shits. Where is the shits? You have the shits?" And the guy would like look at her and be like, "What are you talking about, lady?" This is before like Spanish people actually worked in these stores, you know, because there wasn't that many in it definitely not in Nanuet, but even in Spring Valley, it wasn't that many at the time. And then I would be dying laughing. Man. And and then she would be like, shake me. Say, "Pregúntalo." I say, "Okay, my mom is looking for sheets, like for the bed, sheets." And the guy would be like, "Oh, sheets, blah, blah, blah." Send them over there. And so that would be like the thing, you know? And funny, it was just fun. Like to me, that type of stuff was funny. And it's only funny if like your mom or your parents are immigrants, that kind of thing. Now my sister, who I miss and I love dearly, R.I.P. D-Ray, the best. Yeah, my sister would go crazy. She would go crazy. She was like very defensive of my mom, and she had a very short fuse, because there were like racist or prejudiced white, specifically ladies, that there would be either in stores or wherever they would be or stuff like that. And they would talk to my mom in a very, not all the time. This is not like, whatever. But it would happen enough that it was a thing during that time, where they talked to my mom in a very condescending way. And since English is not my mother's first language, my mom would not get it that they were actually insulting her. And my sister would start barking at these adults. Like, "Don't you ever talk to my mother like that, you cow." That's that's one thing you learn. Like, you think like to call like a white middle-aged soccer mom or whatever a pig or something like that. You'd be like, "Hey, you fucking pig." No. Apparently, you call them a cow, that's like a huge insult. So my sister would do that. She'd stick up for my mom all the time. She'd be like, "You cow, don't you talk to my mother like that," like whatever. Yeah, and cause a scene. It's nice. It's nice that she did that, And meanwhile, my dad's like Spanish was horrendous. But he would talk Spanish to people fearlessly. Fearlessly, he would talk Spanish to people. And there's nothing worse, or there's nothing more funny than a Long Island Jew talking about Spanish, or talking, gonna say a few things, but like talking Spanish to people in a Long Island Jew white man accent, it's hilarious. That's the only way I can describe it. It's hilarious. But he used to, he actually, you know what he would do? I'm going to preface this, whatever. I'm going to preface this joke telling by some good stuff he would do. Because he would do good stuff. My dad, he has a small insurance brokerage. And what he would do is like he would get clients in like the most, I wouldn't say the most. He would get clients in very bad Hispanic neighborhoods. Washington Heights, the South Bronx. He did a lot of business in the South Bronx with clients that don't speak English. But he would know like basically junior high school or high school level Spanish that he picked up from my mom. And he would talk to these people and he would sell them insurance. And they loved him because the other people who sold them insurance, even if it was maybe another Hispanic guy, would be like ripping them off. And one thing I can say about my dad is that he doesn't rip off people. I'm going to say in a weird way. Dude, he doesn't rip off customers, clients. He doesn't. He actually overworks for them. And I tell him this all the time, like, dude, you are working way too hard for this guy. And, people take advantage of him because of that and like whatever. It's a very strange man. Anyway, but he would do that. And that's very admirable. He'd go up to the Bronx late at night and go to like tire shops and like small privately owned businesses that were Hispanic owned, and he would go and they would be like, what is up with this ginger man? That's what he was, a ginger man. My grandfather, or maybe one of my uncles, somebody in my family, they gave him the nickname Achote, which Achote is a spice that is red, and that's what they used to call him. So they used to call him Achote, the Hispanic side, and the Jews that I knew that I grew up with, like Shlomo, the mechanic and whatever, they would just call him Gingy, and yeah. Either way, so my dad would like, he would help people in his own way. So my dad's Spanish was like, it was horrendous. It was horrendous, though. Even now it's hard for him to fake an accent. He can't. So he'd be like this. He'd be like, Sacarito, we're having pernil? Is that what we're having tonight? Hoorah! Yeah, pernil. You got patitas, right? Which are pig's feet, which are freaking gross. So he would eat the patitas, but call them patitas. Patitas and pernil instead of pernil. Which is Pernil. So he's like phonetically saying like these Spanish words. My mom is not far behind him, right? I would be like, my mom was so good, man. And she still is so good. I shouldn't say was. My mom is very good. So I would be like stoned. When I mean stoned, I'd be like a nice marijuana, fat blunt, stoned in the living room. Maybe I was in junior high school or something like that. And she would hang out with me. My mom was like one of my best, and to this day, my best and favorite drinking partner. She doesn't know anything about alcoholism really like that. I mean, now that we lost my sister, yeah, and she's a little bit. But, she don't know. We come from that culture where, sometimes the parents drink with the kids and that's just it. So we'd be drinking. We having a few pops. Maybe I was, whatever. And I put on the Doors, just to listen to her. And she knew all the songs, but she ain't know the words, right? So, like, we'd be listening, and I'd be high, I'd be hanging out with her and we'd be talking shit. And it was the best time of my life, you know. I put on the Doors because I went through a phase where like I thought I was like Jim Morrison reincarnated after I was introduced to the Oliver Stone film with Val Kilmer, which was like an incredible film, you know. Even the heroin song, like that started like a whole, I was like, well, I can't wait to do dope. But either way, so I'd be there and sitting on these couches that matched the freaking drapes from 1975 in my mom's living room, listening to Riders on the Storm, boom, ba-dum, boom, boom. And then I would look and wait, and my mother, this is what my mother would sing. She'd say, tigers on the snow, bum, pinku, bum. Tigers on the snow, and like with all the seriousness on earth. And I would stop myself from laughing at her, and I would just laugh with her, and I would hug her, and we'd have the best time, and it was incredible. It was freaking incredible. And it's so, you know, I look back on those things with like fond memories, like, you know, like, yeah, like when my dad would, when my dad would curse at people in Spanish or order food, like he'd curse at people. He'd be like, come on, maricon, come on. Hey, cocolo. Cocolo is a very bad word that Spanish people used to call black people. They used to call them cocolos. And that word is not really used anymore. So if you hear that, it's you know, a Puerto Rican guy that was born in 1947 is still using that word, the cocolos. But my dad, he thought that word was just like, whatever. Cocolo? Cabron? Come on, motherfucker. You bad? Like, you know, barking at people. And I would just fall over laughing, you know? I would fall over laughing. And it's great. It's great. He doesn't use that word anymore. We kind of talked him out of it, you know. And my mom's English has gotten a lot better. I would be in school, and she'd be like, Jare, you are not cooperating. Like, oh, yeah, cooperate? Cooperate. You are not cooperating. And she'd be like, whatever she used to say. Mira, you have to focus. Focus. You have to focus. I'm like, focus? Who you want me to fuck? She's like, don't say that word. I say, okay, yeah. I have to focus. Focus. You got to focus. People make choices. You got to be responsible for your actions. Put your socks. You know, just put on your socks, you know? and then she would mimic like Hebrew. Like if my dad busted out a Hebrew prayer, Passover. Meanwhile, my mom would make like these Passover seders that were like straight up Boricua style. Like my mom made. She's getting a little lazy now. Listen, everybody knows if you got a Spanish mom and they're getting up there in age, bro, their taste buds are leaving them. Now I can't even, you know, I gotta be whatever. I gotta be choosy or something. I have to be, you know, skeptical when I'm picking up, you know, a plate in my mom's house. Like, oh man, because like now she thinks that shit tastes good and it don't taste like it used to taste. Like the pernil, I don't even eat it anymore. The arroz con gandule, I'm like, dude, who did the rice? And I'm like, yo, your mom. I'm like, shit, man, she's losing it. Anyway, but for like Passover, my mom used to, she still does, man. Whenever they decide to have a Seder, she makes matzo ball soup. And she does it with sofrito. And it is unbelievable. It is straight up unbelievable. So, yeah, she would do that. It was like a very blended thing. You gonna open your pressing for Chanukah? She could never say Hanukkah. Said Chanukah. We still make that joke now. I call her back, Mira, Chanukah. She's like, hey, Hanukkah, ha, Hanukkah. It was funny. yeah, so like my mom would make those meals for my dad, and all of the Jewish food had like Spanish spices in it, which was wild, but it tasted really good. Then if I ever was in somebody else's house, like, yo, I'm not gonna lie, I'm sorry, but yeah, man, Jews can't cook that good. You know, the ones that the Jewish food that I've had, it's been like bland. You know, they don't. You know, I'm sorry. Maybe I had the wrong stuff. Any of you guys are out there, you're more than welcome to invite me for a meal. You know, even one time I sat down, I had Friday dinner at the Chabad downtown Brooklyn, and it was incredible. Like on Remsen, and that place. You know, listen, I'm still a Jew, man. I went, I got bar mitzvahed. You know, bro, at my bar mitzvah, we were playing Cypress Hill and all kind of music, and there were like 5 Jews at my reception. It was me. No, I can't say that. Okay, let's say there's 100 people, 125 people, maybe 150 people. Like from my family, I only know like 5, 6, 8 Jews, 10 Jews, you know, which was funny. So everybody else was Puerto Rican. We danced salsa. We had rice. It was wild. It was great, but I had a great time. Yeah, so it was a nice blended upbringing. And, yeah, we had a great time. You know, so my dad would butcher the Spanish. My mom would slay the food and butcher the English. You know, she would butcher the English. And it now it's gotten a lot better. My mom's English is really good. Mind you, my mom has 2 master's degrees, and one from Lehman and one from Iona. You know, so she knows. And my mom is so smart. She is so smart, man. It's just English is not her first language. She's so smart. She's so good with. She's good with money because she grew up without any money. So she's good at working and saving money and budgeting. Like I said, we go to Peddler's Mart, places like that. My mom still goes to the dollar store. And then as they got older, you know, as we were growing up, and then, you know, my pops, you know, he caught a couple of licks. They start making some bread. The money comes, the money goes. Like, my mom always had very nice stuff, unbelievable stuff, man. My dad, like, because my dad, this was his thing. Like, he would insure like a furrier. He said, "Listen, I'll give you a break on the premiums, whatever he can, if you give me a deal on the coat." So, listen, my mom had a mink coat my whole life, and my mom has a lot of jewels, a lot, and they're ridiculous. I was going to say the other R word, so that's how ridiculous they are. And she's had them because my dad used to insure like diamond manufacturers and jewelers, and my mom had like custom Chinese dresses that he had made with clients that like, and that's what he would do. You know, he would leverage his business to make sure my mom was always, you know, the way that it works in the home I grew up in. And the way that it works in my home is how can I say this? I used to say it really good. My dad lives for my mom. She treats him like a king, but she's the boss. And guess what? Same thing goes in my home. I live for my woman, man. I do. And she's also Puerto Rican. But she's not from Puerto Rico. She's from the Bronx, the South Boogie. And so we get all the same stuff, the sofrito. She don't make matzo ball soup or anything. But like I said, she killed the key lime pie. And we eat Spanish food 60% or more in my home, maybe 70%. I cook all the white people stuff, the steaks, the red meat, whatever. Yeah. You know, she burns, what's that, sage? What's the other stuff? Palo Santo. She burns that shit all over the house. Hocus pocus. I surrender. I say, listen, if you ain't if you're not burning something on New Year's Eve or whatever, then you need to hand your Boricua card back because you don't got it. My woman is also, like my mom, way more articulate and well-read and smarter than I am. Dude, my girl legit can do crossword puzzles. I don't even have the patience for that, nor the vocabulary. If I don't get the word in 5 seconds, I ain't getting it. Meanwhile, I can do, fancy financial math and then maybe figure out a couple of things in the stock market or whatever. But, she's definitely she's way smarter than me. And I admire that. My dad believes the same thing. My mom, actually, my mom is way smarter than my dad. My dad's pretty sharp, but, he ain't swift. But my mom is way smarter than him. And that's like, it's nice. It's nice to have that, I guess, that balance. That's what it is, man. I live for the love of my woman. My kids, I could care less if they love me, to be honest with you. My job is to take care of them. They don't even have to like me. My job is to prepare them for life and for them to be their best self. As many tools that I can give them, as many cheat codes as I can give them, that's my job. They don't even have to like me, bro. They'll thank me because other people will be out there getting caught slipping or whatever. And that's not going to hopefully happen to them. And I can be humble about it when they don't listen and then they come back with egg on their face and I say, it's okay. I'm learning how to be like that. My woman has a lot of grace. My mom has a lot of grace. Yeah. Because my dad, he don't have the grace. He doesn't have the grace. He's a good storyteller. For those of you who know him, he doesn't really shut up. And I kind of have the same affliction. Obviously, look, hey, I started a show, right, to talk into a microphone. There's nobody here but me and me right now and you guys. But, yeah. So, that's kind of where we're at with it when it comes to those two. But it was a lovely home. We celebrated Christmas, celebrated Hanukkah. My dad doesn't believe in God. I actually had to ask him. I'm like, listen, can I go to shul, Hebrew school? I was like in 3rd grade. And he was like, yeah, sure, if you want. And they had to find they found a Reformed temple that would take me. And, because my mom is a goy, she was not converting. And, so they found Temple Bethel. And it was great. I had the best time over there. It was awesome. I made so many friends that I love so much to this day. And I got in touch with, I used to read and write Hebrew. Not even joking. I could not even do it now. But I used to read and write Hebrew. When I read out of the Torah for my bar mitzvah, there were no vowels. I just read straight out, man. Out of Leviticus. Was that? Yeah, Leviticus. I read out of Leviticus. And that's the cool thing. To the best of my knowledge, you read out of the portion of the Torah that was written at the time you were born, which is pretty intense. That's pretty dope. And there's a little bit of singing. I think it's called the Haftorah is what you have to read or whatever. But the good thing about me going to Hebrew school was I was introduced to other kids that, that didn't go to school with me because I didn't go to school with a lot of Jewish kids, just regular Reformed Jews. I just didn't. And that's okay. Like it just happens to be the way it's divvied up upstate. Like they're like, oh, you live on this, and this zip code, this zip code is chopped up into these areas and everybody goes to these schools. But at Hebrew school, I was introduced to other kids who had the same Jewish stereotypical mannerisms and thought processes that I had, you know, which I think is actually in our DNA, you know, because like my dad, I knew my dad, my cousin Glenn, who I love all the way to the moon, my grandfather, who was like, you know, my grandfather was was my dad's dad. That's really it. I didn't really know that many other, there wasn't anybody else really in my family. I had some family out on Long Island, but whatever. Apparently they were for the birds. I can't even tell who from my dad's family is cool and who's not cool because my dad is a difficult person to get along with. So I don't know if it's on him or if it's on them why they're not around. But, you know, yeah, I grew up eating matzo brie for breakfast and chuletas and fried chicken and rice and beans for dinner. I can have that in the same day. Well, obviously the chuletas and the chicken not the same day. That would be a little crazy. But I could have chicken, rice, and beans and totones for dinner and have matzo brie for breakfast. And it was all Gouda in my home. Even my mom, I think she would eat the matzo brie too. But me and my sister, my dad definitely would eat it. I never liked white fish salad. That shit's for the birds. But to this day, yeah, lox. I love it. Yeah, I do. So that was a good thing, yeah, in Hebrew school, you know, the way Jews are. We're all, it's weird the way we are. And when it comes out, it's funny. And then my Spanish cousins would like pick on me a little bit. They'd be like, oh, ¿tú estás americano o judío? Judío americano? No, sorry. I'm saying the same thing because I'm going to be late picking up my kid from Pratt. But that's okay. She can wait a few minutes. They would say, ¿tú estás boricua o judío? Huh? Boricua o judío? Means you're Puerto Rican or you're Jewish. And I used to be like, Boricua! And they say, yay! And then everybody gives me a high five, steal some of their beer, give me a little sip or something. But the truth is, I'm literally both. And even in the way that I think, the way that I am, you know? Yeah. You know, it's funny. And it's true and it's nice. And I make fun of my girl now because I'm like, yo, did you ever think that you would want to marry a Jew? She's like, never. Never. You know, it wasn't even in her, there weren't Jews even in her zip code where she grew up, much less a white guy. I think I'm the first white guy she's ever dated. And definitely the first Jew. And it's funny because like, everything is funny. I say it's funny. But me and my boy Tone, which I will get on here one day, we used to make these jokes. I've dated all kinds of women throughout my life. I've actually never dated a Jewish girl. I don't know why. I just never did. You know, but mostly Hispanic women, black women, Filipino, Italian, whatever. Non-white, if you want to call it that. And we used to make this joke like, me and my boy Tony Spike, dude, in the 90s, you had to get a hot Puerto Rican girl, like Jenny from the Block style with all the right weaponry, all that shit. Bro, you had to like stab somebody if you're a white boy, you know? Meanwhile, if you go to actual Puerto Rico, all you got to do is just be white. And they will love you. It's crazy. So when I used to go there, I used to be shocked. I'd be like, oh my God. Like, dude, this is like a layup, you know? So that's how that worked, you know? But I always also had this conversation I would have in my head about myself. Like I always thought that I was like, oh, I was never Puerto Rican enough for Puerto Ricans and never white enough for white people. So I just had my own thing. But let me tell you something. And this is an all 1,000,000% fact for me in my life. You know, I was always Jewish enough for Jews. They never cared. They were just like, oh. They're like, that's cool. You got a Spanish mom? That's cool. Oh, you went to shul? Okay, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, they were never, you know, because I had a mikvah when I was a kid after they gave me the chop, 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 right? Yeah, so, like, you know, they converted me. I was a couple of days old or whatever. You know, hit me with the bris. That's it. And, yeah. And then in the eyes of my Lord, you know, I'm going straight to the top. You know, and that's what was cool, because you wouldn't think that, but that's what it was. You know, even now when I putz around with some of the Hasidim and the Orthodox Jews in the neighborhood where in Brooklyn, you know, they can look at me and be like, oh, if I still had glasses but I had laser corrective surgery, then I would look like a little white Jew with glasses and tattoos, big teeth. But oddly enough, you know what else is funny? And this is also the truth, and it's shocking, and it's happened in front of people in my family, my kids, and even my woman, and we laugh every time. Like, Spanish people know that I'm Spanish. They can smell it on me. Like, Spanish people will come up and start talking to me in Spanish in stores, on the streets, and ask for directions or like whatever. And my Spanish is like maybe, I don't know, 75%. I used to speak a lot more Spanish when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was in, like I said before, I was in bilingual classes, KBL, kindergarten taught in English and Spanish, you know. And then as I got older, it's just really more English. My mom, I still talk to my mom in Spanish. And my mom used to talk to me in Spanish when I was a kid, and I would talk to her back in English. That happens a lot. She really wanted me to learn English. They didn't really teach me and my sister Spanish, and then some of my cousins would mess with me because I didn't speak Spanish the way that they did. But, you know, but most of them speak broken South Bronx, Boricua, New York Spanish. They don't even really speak Spanish. You know, they can't go into a bank and close a real estate deal in Spanish. So there's that. But, you know, a lot of them can. So, but either way, yeah, it's nice to be like that. It's nice to be multicultural. It's nice to be multi-ethnic. And the good thing is, like, you know, because of my pale skin, you know, I have definitely been in places where people, both Hispanic and white, have talked a lot of shit about each other in racist ways. I definitely know a lot of Hispanic people that hate white people, and a lot of white people that hate Hispanic people. And oddly enough, I know a lot of white and Hispanic people that hate black people. And I have plenty of black people in my family too, and I love them, and we love them. But it's funny what you can pick up, because even now, like I said, with the limited, in my mind, it's limited Spanish. But somehow, when the pressure's on, somehow I make it. It comes out, and I even shocked myself. Like, wow, man, I just did that. It's funny, but yeah. So, you know, I guess I have like recall or whatever. But even if I listen to Spanish music, like, I can just, you know, reggaeton or salsa, merengue, whatever, bachata. I love cumbia. You know, my girl, she's going to shoot me, but she don't listen to the show, so whatever. I love the Colombian cumbia. I love that, you know. She likes the Mexican cumbia. Mexican cumbia is good, too. But I like the Colombian. Come on, Celso Piña. Come on, bro. Anyway, so I can... One of two things can happen. Neither of them can happen at the same time. Either A, I enjoy the music and just chill and love it. And I love Spanish music. Salsa is probably the one, if I was on an island and I had to listen to one kind of music for the rest of my life, it would be classic salsa from the 70s and the 80s. All of it. Name them. All of it. And the, you know, part of the 90s. But yeah, the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. New York classic salsa. I love that stuff, man. That, or it would be roots reggae. So, like I said, either A, I can enjoy the music, or B, I can not enjoy it and listen for the words and then understand almost all of it. If I listen to a song, maybe it would take me to listen to a song maybe 2 or 3 times. If I just listen to it in Spanish and just nobody could talk to me or interrupt me, then I'd probably get it all. Don't ask me to repeat all of it, but eventually I could probably do that too. And even when I do that, I get some of the words wrong, and that's okay. Wow. Anyway, that's my cue. Somebody's banging something outside. They're doing construction. I love you guys. And I need you guys. All of you. And if you're listening, I want to say thank you for listening. And I appreciate it. You can like, not like YouTube, like, subscribe, or whatever. Subscribe. You can rate my podcast, our show. It's our show. I shouldn't say my podcast. It's our podcast. You can rate that on Apple or wherever you're listening. I always say Apple first, but Spotify and all these other platforms, Pandora. There's a Facebook page, The Spiritual Experience. Feel free to send me messages there if you want. You can find us there. I bust out these clips. I also have an Instagram page, Spiritual Experience, as well. We're all tumbling through space together. And who knows, with Putin and, Biden and whatever, how this is all going to end in the next couple of years. I'm a believer in, the deep state. They're going to make decentralized one currency. It's going to be like that shit in China. What do they call it? The social whatever, the social currency, where even now in New York, they don't even let you eat somewhere if you don't have your vaccine. Eventually, they're going to do some digital currency. They're going to get rid of paper money. They're going to control us all. They're already controlling us with all these narratives that they're spitting out, trying to divide us, with all this shit. Thank the Lord for places like Substack, where you can go and find, unadulterated information. And anybody could start a show, and you can give your own opinion. I think the difference is that there are people, I don't want to go on another rant, but I have 2 minutes left. Okay. So there's a difference between, now we're going to get into the deep stuff. There's a difference between searching for the truth and claiming the truth. Now, most of us are searching for the truth. The people who are not affiliated with either polarizing side, the Trump people, the freaking Joe Biden, guy's a geriatric patient, and I'm sorry if you like him. Too fucking bad. We're stuck with him, and there's nobody gonna come and save us. There's nobody, unless the Lord decides to knock on his door and take him with him, and then we got to deal with Kamala, who believed all of the accusers until she was tapped on the shoulder to go be the VP. So I guess that's what matters for her, the job, not the women, right? Anyway, for those of us who just want to be free, they're coming for us. They are. First thing they're going to do is they're just going to pollute our minds with all of this, division. We're all a lot more alike than we think. And eventually, this is like the non-bomb chemical warfare. I'm one of these guys that thinks it's coming from China, and that's just what I believe. With the TikTok shit, they're making all of our kids stupid by, doing that stuff. Meanwhile, in China, the kids can't even be on TikTok past 7 o'clock. And they show them all these engineering and beautiful videos of young people doing wonderful stuff. Here we're doing stupid dances. And our kids don't even know the states and capitals. They don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't know anything about credit. We're getting dumber and dumber. The kids are. But, there's an insurrection happening, and it's not like QAnon crazy stuff. There are young people who are in tech and who are also just walking the earth. We are non-compliant. I'm a 2-jab guy, but I don't believe in mandates, bro, of any kind. I don't believe in that stuff. And eventually, I'm telling you, they're going to try and take control of all of us. And they can't win if we love each other. They just can't. They can't, man. And that's the answer. So, enough of that. I love you guys. I'll see you on the flip side. Peace. Okay, everybody, we'd like to thank you for joining us on The Spiritual Experience. Please don't forget to like and subscribe on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google, Pandora, everywhere. And please find us on Facebook, where you can become part of our family. We'll see you around.